Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Josh Poet with you. First Contact Radio. Let's jump into stuff for today. Starting off, we've got our dream spell date. Today is a white day. It's called the White Galactic Wind, and the guide is the World Bridger. White, it's the color of refinement. Galactic tone, it's tone number 8. It's called the galactic tone of integrity. The symbol for today is the wind. The wind is all about inspiration, spirit, breath. And the guide for today, the World Bridger, is all about life and death, that bridge between the two worlds. And today is the second day, or the second month, which is called the lunar month. But in this system, we don't refer to it as month, we say moon. So today is the beginning of the second moon. For the next 28 days, this moon is going to last, same as they always do with each one of these moons. And you can see right here it says Lunar 1, because the second moon is called the lunar moon. First one is called the magnetic. Now we're into the lunar. So we're going to count these 13 moons. Each one of them represents a month, and each one is 28 days long. So we've just ended the first one. Now we're into the second one, and it's the first day of the second month, or as we call it, first day of the second moon. On the Gregorian calendar, it is Tuesday, August 23rd, 2011. That catches you up to speed with our date for today. Now we're going to jump forward to some news. Dirk Bradshaw is taking the day off today. He's preparing some big stories for down the road, so he's not available. So for the next couple days, we're going to be bringing to you a story about John F. Kennedy and Majestic 12. Let's get started.
With that, let me begin to introduce our next speaker, Dr. Michael Salla. If I can find my glasses. Dr. Salla is a pioneer in the development of exopolitics, along with Stephen Bassett, which is the scholarly study of the main actors, institutions, and processes associated with the extraterrestrial presence that is not acknowledged to the general public, elected officials, or the mass media. His groundbreaking Exopolitics, Political Implications of Extraterrestrial Presence presents the first scholarly framework for understanding the political implications of the extraterrestrial presence. Dr. Salla is an internationally recognized scholar in international politics, conflict resolution, and U.S. foreign policy, and is the author-editor of an additional 4 books, including A Hero's Journey Toward the Second American Century, Essays on Peace, Why the Cold War Ended, and Islamic Radicalism, Muslim Nations and the West. He has also authored more than 70 articles, chapters, and book reviews on peace, ethnic conflict, and conflict resolution. He has held academic positions in the School of International Service and the Center for Global Peace, American University in Washington, D.C., the Department of Political Science, Australian National University in Cambria, Australia from 94 to 96, and the Elliott School of International Affairs at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. He has a Ph.D. in Government from the University of Queensland, Australia, an M.A. in Philosophy from University of Melbourne, Australia. He has conducted research and fieldwork in ethnic conflicts in East Timor, Kosovo, Macedonia, Sri Lanka, and organized peacekeeping initiatives involving government officials and participants from these conflicts. He will talk today about the Majestic 12 group and their potential relation to the JFK assassination. Please help me welcome Dr. Michael Salla. Okay, there he is.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks, Ryan, for that introduction. I'm really happy to be back here at the UFO Crash Retrieval Conference. It's been, I think, 2 or 3 years since the last time I was here, and it's very appropriate that I'm here to talk about this topic because so much of the material that I used in this topic I really owe thanks to the work of Dr. Robert Wood and Ryan Wood in terms of investigating the Majestic documents. And I will be referring to several of the documents that I think are very important in giving us background and some idea as to what was really happening during the Kennedy administration. I really got interested in the Kennedy assassination due to my work on the Eisenhower administration. I've been very interested in President Eisenhower and his relations with extraterrestrial technologies and civilizations. There's a lot of material on that. In the course of doing that research, I came up with the transition between Eisenhower and Kennedy as a very important phase of this whole issue concerning presidential involvement on the extraterrestrial issue. And then I really was fascinated when I saw some of the latest majestic documents that the Woods team had been able to investigate and put up on their website, and things became very clear then, especially in light of some of the historical documents from the Kennedy administration, from the Eisenhower administration, that really pinpoint exactly what was happening behind the scenes. And I think, like so much of the work that goes into understanding UFOs, extraterrestrials, and different administrations, so much happens behind the scenes, and that often it's difficult to really appreciate the magnitude of it until many decades later, when some of these documents emerge, either through FOIA requests or through the leaked documents that have made their way through to the Majestic Documents website. So with that, let me begin then. I'm going to be looking at the timeline and the political analysis of President Kennedy's efforts to declassify UFO files and the alleged MJ-12 assassination directive that is pretty central to the whole question of exactly what happened at the end of Kennedy's efforts. But to begin, it really is important to look at how President Eisenhower viewed the management of the UFO files, the documents that concerned extraterrestrial life, extraterrestrial technologies, and what his views were and what he would have passed on, because there is a transition between every presidential administration. And in that transition, the outgoing president, kind of gives a briefing really to the incoming president about what he sees is the challenges confronting the president, and just kind of primes them as to what it is that they need to do, what areas they need to be aware of, and some of the challenges. And it's very important to understand that President Eisenhower was really a very patriotic American, probably as patriotic as they come, a 5-star general, commander of the US forces in Europe during the Second World War, just such an illustrious man, and really someone that had at his core the best interests of the American society. And so I don't think there would be any question in my mind that he would have passed on to his successor what he thinks would have been the really important challenges, the threats faced in the United States, to ensure that the United States maintained its status and would maintain its sovereignty given the very challenging international political climate at the time. And so what was the main challenge that President Eisenhower would have talked over with the incoming President Kennedy? What would have been the thing that, in those private sessions, media isn't invited, so these are very private sessions. You know, what is it that Eisenhower would have told Kennedy? We don't really have much historical data on what happened in those meetings. It's very confidential. But I think it's pretty clear, given what I will be discussing, what I think Kennedy was told by Eisenhower in those meetings. What was the big challenge, according to Eisenhower? I think he basically laid it out to the American public during his farewell address on January 17, 1961. Quote, "In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes," end quote. So this is pretty important stuff. I mean, he really sees there is great danger here posed by the military-industrial complex, and that it really did pose a threat to the liberty and the democratic processes of the United States. So this is the big threat. And there's no doubt in my mind that Eisenhower would have talked to Kennedy about what it was specifically he was really alluding to here. I mean, the military-industrial complex is an allusion to something of great potential disruption to the American system. And so he's alluding to something. So, you know, do you think he would have, in those private sessions with Kennedy, kind of spelt it out? You know, what exactly do you mean by the military-industrial complex? I think he would have spelt it out. I'm pretty certain he did, actually. So what was it he told Kennedy? Well, one of the people that actually served under President Eisenhower was Stephen Lufkin, who worked for U.S. Army Signals Intelligence in the Eisenhower administration, was at Camp David. He worked with Eisenhower and actually talked with Eisenhower, even though he was a junior officer at the time. And he was pretty clear exactly what it was Eisenhower was alluding to. And this is what Lufkin said, quote, "When he said the main thing we have to fear is the military-industrial complex, he wasn't kidding. And he had the UFO subject matter we are just talking about in mind. He was quite explicit about that." So clearly, if Lufkin is correct, and I believe he is, I mean, he served under Eisenhower and he knows what was happening in that administration. The big concern Eisenhower had was the UFO subject and how it was being mishandled and the loss of presidential executive authority over classified UFO files. So he definitely discussed with Kennedy the dangers posed by the military-industrial complex and specifically gave a warning to Kennedy over how the UFO issue was taken out of presidential authority and was being mishandled. So this is pretty heavy stuff to tell an incoming president that, you know, probably the most important national security issue facing the country is out of presidential control. And he was really worried, you know. I mean, Eisenhower's telling Kennedy, "I'm really worried."
With that, let me begin.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of people.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing. What they're losing from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, Big Brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. One if by land and two if by sea, and I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up.
Patriots, arise! It's time to demand the truth.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is Josh, and this is the UFO news for today. I have about 4 or 5 stories for you again. First one, we're going to start off with the Examiner.com. This is UFOs in the United Kingdom spotted moving in formation by Tracy Pierce. Says several UFOs were spotted in Leicester, United Kingdom on Sunday, August 21st, 2011. According to a witness, they were moving in formation. A video recorded during the UFO sighting shows 3 separate pinpricks of light in the dark night sky above several buildings and trees. The 3 unidentified flying objects all moved the same direction and appeared to be traveling at the same speed. The lead UFO was significantly ahead of the second and the third. The video on the left side of the screen is from 7 Amarives. It's spelled the number 7 AMARIVU apostrophe, or ends at the U. You can get a U channel right here. YouTube channel. Following is uploaded comments on the sightings. I don't know what it is. Maybe a UFO. I haven't seen any weather balloons, so it might be that also. They were moving in formation. Well, let's just take a look at this video here. See what we think it is. Alright. There we go. Let's check it out. Alright, we see a couple of lights right over here. Just individual lights. They look like one looks like it's following the other. They could maybe even be attached to the same craft almost. It could be. Alright. So there we have it. Alright, let's move on to our next story. This one is a UFO sighting in Shanghai and Beijing. A halo in the sky can be seen in this photo taken by a netizen named Chengzhu in Beijing on August 20, 2011. A huge illuminated, unidentified flying object was reported by multiple airline pilots in the sky above Shanghai, the Oriental Post reported Tuesday. The pilot of the airliner CZ6554 said on the microblog that the huge spherical illuminant was seen in the sky 10,700 meters above Shanghai at 9 p.m. on the 20th of August. The illuminant was really round and getting huge, hundreds times bigger than the moon, and the diameter of the illuminant was longer than 50 sea miles, the pilot said in the microblog. The pilot said in the air crew of more than 10 other airlines above the Shanghai also reported the illuminant object one by one. Air Traffic Management Bureau, East China, also confirmed the reports on Monday. At almost the same time, a halo in the sky of Beijing was seen by local people. Alright, let's take a look at this photo once again. This is the halo they're talking that they saw. Alright, and I don't know if this is the little UFO here, but this is the only image we seem to have of this. So if we hear more, we'll definitely let you know. Next story. UFO vanishes during sighting along Pennsylvania Route 422. This is Roger Marsh over at the Examiner as well. Pennsylvania witness watching a UFO along eastbound Route 422 between Oaks and Trooper at 7:55 a.m. on August 22nd appeared to disappear and appear as it was being observed, according to the testimony for the MUFON database. This is the second report of UFO along the same stretch of the Pennsylvania Highway. We previously reported Pennsylvania UFO hovers 20 feet off the ground along Route 422. An August 5th, 2011 event where the object was hovering 20 feet off the ground. In most recent case, from August 22nd, the witness first saw a very bright reflection of what was assumed to be an airplane. It was round and bright, and then simply vanished, the witness stated. It kept looking. It was not an airplane in the area. Let's see if this is this looks like it's a map. You can see where the sighting took place here. Okay. There you go. It's a close-up look for those in the area to see exactly where it was. Alright, yesterday we did a report on this. This is a little bit more in depth now. Scorpion-shaped UFO seen in the skies over Los Cristos, Spain. Remember this looking UFO right here? We just did this picture of it yesterday, right? Well, it says here, in one of the most unusual recent UFO sightings, a scorpion-shaped object was spotted in the skies above Los Cristianos, Spain on Saturday, August 21st, 2011. Jamie O'Rourke saw the unidentified flying object near his home around 8 a.m. and managed to snap several photos before the object disappeared. An internet search for the scorpion-shaped kites did not reveal anything like the bizarre object seen in the photos on the left side of the page. A similar search for the scorpion-shaped UFOs also revealed nothing. A strange unidentified flying object photographed in Los Cristianos seems to defy logic or explanation at this time. You can see from the photos that this UFO was elongated in shape and dark in color and has two protruding appendages, one on one end that resembled the pincers or claws of a scorpion. On the opposite side, the UFO had a long tail that looked like the tail or stinger of a scorpion. UFO Global Reporting Center has the scoop on this UFO sighting on their blog. They reported one of our UFO Global Reporting Centers sent these images from Jamie O'Rourke. Jamie took these images near his house. Okay, so let's get a look again, just to remind you what this was like. Here it is. These are the pictures. This is the one that kind of looks a little bit bizarre, you know, kind of like something we see in Battlestar Galactica or one of those type of shows. Now we have an article up here. This is from Alexander Rojas, and not too long ago we did I think it was last week, a story about a death of Gabe Valdez, who is a New Mexico State Patrol officer who worked out in the Dulce area. Well, this is a follow-up on that. New Mexico cop says military responsible for cattle mutilations. Gabe Valdez was a former New Mexico State Patrol officer in the Dulce, New Mexico area. During his tenure, beginning in the 70s, he was tasked with investigating mysterious cattle mutilations. The area suffered many cases of cattle found mutilated without blood, organs that appeared carefully removed, and cuts in the skin that were so precise they were believed to be made by lasers. After years of research, Valdez concluded that a clandestine government agency was responsible and that they used secret underground bases in the Dulce area for their experiments. I've investigated a cattle mutilation case myself, just down the road from Dulce over the Colorado border outside the town of Trinidad. Like many other cases, a cow was found with the udder missing, patches of skin removed, and the anus cored out, the genitals and part of the tongue missing. The animal was found at the bottom of a wash, and unlike a typical predator kill, there was no indication of a struggle or massive blood loss. The rancher had been raising cattle his whole life and had seen many animal deaths, but could not explain why this animal had died. In fact, because he had a UFO sighting just days before, he suggested that the culprits could be extraterrestrial. The first publicized case of strange cattle mutilation was outside of Alamosa, Colorado in '67, only 100 miles or so northeast of Dulce. An Appaloosa horse was found with the head and the neck skinned and defleshed. The bones were white and clean, and there was a lack of blood in the area. The lacerations were cauterized as if a laser scalpel were used, according to a pathologist out of Denver. No satisfactory explanation had ever been found on why this animal was killed. Since then, hundreds of cattle mutilations have been discovered. The ranch with the largest number of mysterious animal deaths belongs to the Gomez family near Dulce, the area Valdez was assigned to. Unlike the rancher I spoke with, Valdez told me that he had never seen anything that led him to believe there were extraterrestrials in New Mexico. Instead, he found military gear such as gas masks and glow sticks around the carcasses of mutilated cattle. Valdez also said the UFOs seen in the area were actually advanced military craft, some of which were involved with picking up these animals to conduct experiments on them and then returning them without being seen. He said the animals were returned mutilated in order to make locals believe it was done by extraterrestrials. As for the identity and the motives of the secret military group, Valdez says these topics were too sensitive to discuss. And one last story, there's more to this article as you can see here, as well as a video. You can check that out. And our last story right here comes to us about an upcoming UFO conference. So the UFO conference will feature UFO crash site artifacts. Midwest UFO Conference, which will be held August 20th, 2011 at the Unity Temple on the Plaza, 707 West 47th Street, Kansas City, Missouri, starting from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9:30 in the evening, will feature national speakers including Dennis Balthazar, Rose, Grant Cameron, and Debbie Zeigelmeyer. These national speakers, and among others, will present recent testing results regarding UFO site artifacts that will further lecture concerning the UFO phenomenon. UFO researcher Art Campbell will display 3 UFO site artifacts believed to be biological organ pieces of metal not coming from Earth and part of a tiny shoe. The most recent stunning test results of these artifacts will be revealed for the first time on the conference. Other speakers will be further explain the latest testing results and artifacts from Roswell. Host of the Night Watch radio show, Todd Sheets, will MC the event, which will be covered by Benchmark Investigation Group. Vendors will sell UFO-related items, books, shirts, and jewelry. The event is sponsored by the UFO Midwest magazine, with members from Kansas and Missouri MUFON volunteering at the conference. It will be directed by Margie Kay, who expects a huge capacity of people attending the event due to the increasing UFO sightings in the greater Kansas City area and nationwide. There's tickets available, $40 and $30 for general admission and for students and senior citizens respectively. Tickets available online, ended yesterday, and available at the door after that. So there you go. If you're out in Missouri, you might want to check that out. We've had a lot of UFO sightings going on out there, so I'm sure it'll attract quite a bit of attention. And that is our UFO news for today. I'm going to jump away to a song, and I will be back momentarily. So stay tuned. We've got more news and information right ahead. This song here is called Roswell.
Headline edition, July 8th, 1947.
One day, I was looking to the sky. I saw it. Up above the clouds, it was a silver shiny disk floating high above the ground. Then I saw them waving to me. It was E.T. and his family. Something happened up the street from the ground. The sky had shot the UFO down. Roswell, he didn't make it home. Roswell, he didn't make it home.
The Army Air Force.
All right, and I'm back. Let's continue on with our news for today. All right, first up, we're going to get into the space weather for today. Let's see what's going on. We have a shape-shifting sunspot, it says here. Say that 5 times fast, huh? Shape-shifting sunspot. It's at spaceweather.com. Every time you look, sunspot 1271 has a new outline. For the past 2 days, the active region has been in constant state of change, altering its shape on an hourly basis. Click on the image for 48 hours of shape-shifting. All right, let's zoom in so you can get a good look on this here yourselves. And play the video, and you can see the shifting itself. All right, look at that. Pretty exciting, isn't it? Just watching these sunspots move across the screen. That's some real investigative work right there we're doing, folks. Nothing but top research here on the show. These rapid changes have caused the sunspot's magnetic field to crisscross and tangle. The magnetic field has now beta-gamma configuration that harbors energy for M-class solar flares. Any such flares today would be approximately Earth-directed because the sunspot is not far from the disk center. Readers with sunspot telescopes are encouraged to monitor developments. So what it's saying is we could have M-class flares, and M-class flares are mediums. Okay, remember we have 3 different types. Let's see if it shows, where is it at? There are 3 different types of flares. We got the the S-class, or C-class flares, which are the basic ones. Then you got the next level up, which is the M-class, which is the medium. And then you have the X-class right here. X-class, M and X. These are the two that they are most concerned with. And it shows that we're not too bad. We got there's a 20% chance that we're going to have an M-class flare sometime today, and only a 1% chance it's going to go up to be an X-class flare. And you can see right here the activity level. It's also very low as well for it being active, and very low chance of being minor or severe. But as the report says, it is Earth directed, and things coming out off the sun now are pointing towards the Earth. So we'll just have to pay attention to what goes on. Moving right along, our next story here is about Elenin. And this video, I wanted to play this because there's been a lot of question about Elenin. What's going on with it? Where is it? Some can see it, some say they can't see it. The alignments that they talk about, you know, it's just all a lot of information that kind of coincides with each other in some cases, while in other times it contradicts itself. So we're going to look at the JPL site. This is a video from Jane Q Public 505 over at YouTube, and she points out some anomalies that are quite interesting to look at. So check this out. I will be right back. Here we go.
On the JPL orbital tracking diagram for Elenin, I've been using this thing since about, I don't know, February or March of this year, and I remember March, April, May, they were showing the orbital distance or the Earth distance of Elenin for, let me go up here to September. There we go. Let me go back. If you recall, back during those months, and I could kick myself right now for not downloading it then, but I didn't. Here it is, 28th of September. Back then, they had the Earth distance of Elenin at 0.009 AUs from Earth. Today, if you look at the JPL, for the same date, September 28th, Earth distance is 0.365. That's strange. So NASA has been updating or revising this thing, but that's not really what I wanted to bring your attention to. I want you to look. Let's go back to here. Go back to today's date, the 14th. Now, if you read the articles on Elenin and watch some of the other videos, a lot of these people are saying that Elenin is supposed to speed up. As it gets closer to the Earth, it's supposed to speed up and really increase velocity as it gets closer to the sun, so it has enough inertia to whip itself around the sun and back out of our orbit of our solar system. But I want you to watch something here. Okay, you see it's moving about one of these little squares with every day click as it approaches the ecliptic zone here, which goes over to the lighter blue. Now watch. According to this diagram, this thing's not picking up any speed at all. Okay, it is moving at equal and incremental units, both below and above the ecliptic plane. So what that says to me is that JPL has not made an adjustment to the orbital diagram for the velocity change in Elenin once it breaks this point right here, or as it gets closer from here to here, from sun distance, never mind Earth distance, but distance from the sun, it's supposed to significantly increase its speed. But based on this orbital diagram here, it's not doing anything of the sort. So I'm wondering, where is Elenin, or Nibiru, or whatever you want to call it, going to be at any given point in time? Because a lot of people are basing their assumptions and their projections on this JPL orbital diagram, and it seems to be flawed. It does not seem to be taking into consideration all of the physical effects that this object will be going through as it passes through the ecliptic and out of the Earth's orbit. Well, that's just my observation, something to think about. If you care to leave your comments or care to leave any links for any sites or resources for additional information, I'd be very pleased with that. So thank you very much for watching this, and be safe.
All right. All right, very good bit of information. Yeah, I'm not quite so certain myself what's really going on with all of this Elenin stuff out there and Nibiru. I mean, there's a lot of information which just sort of, I don't know, some of it doesn't seem to make sense. You know, we've heard all these dates that there's these alignments that are taking place with the planets and the stars and so on and so forth, and these have also been times when we've had earthquakes down here on the planet. But then there's also been all of these harp rings and patterns that have showed up in the radar that have pointed to the fact, or to the possibility, that the HARP project was in full effect during some of these times, and that the earthquakes were caused by these type of events as opposed to the natural events of the planets. So, is it possible that Elenin is being used as a smokescreen, that there really isn't anything going on with it? I don't know. We're all going to find out. I mean, what's today? Today's the 23rd of August. In 1 month and 3 days from now, on the 26th of September, we're going to find out what the meaning on the back of that Swiss franc is all about. Because remember, was it Leonhard Euler, mathematician from the 18th century, made a drawing of a solar system that aligns with our solar system on the 26th of September. And this image has been on the back of the Swiss franc for quite some time. Now, he drew this image over 230 years ago. So how did he know what our alignment was going to be on September 26, 2011? Not quite certain, but we're going to all find out in a very short period of time. Let's see, that's 26 plus 7, 8, 26, 7, 8, 9, 30, what, 34 days? 34 days from now, we're going to all find out together what that is all about. So let's all hope it's good. Let's all hope it's good. All right, moving along to our next story. We're going to deal with the mainstream media. Now, the mainstream media, as we know, has dropped the ball in so many cases. They just don't tell the stories. From 9/11, we know 9/11 was an inside job. We can see, and we've determined from the information that the lie of the 9/11 Commission report has been proven. We've shown without a shadow of a doubt, because of all the researchers out there, that 9/11 was brought down by explosives. There's so many evidence, not only from that one, but then you go on to the wars that are taking place and how these wars are illegal, and yet they're taking place, and mainstream media seems to pass it off as if no big deal. And then you've got Ron Paul. Ron Paul is leading in all of the different polls that are out there. He won the straw poll out in New Hampshire. You don't really hear a mention of this on any of the mainstream sites. He came in second by only 152 votes in the straw poll in Iowa. You don't really hear a lot about this either. You hear a lot about Bachmann and Mitt Romney and the others, and according to these different polls that are out there, they're in 5th and 6th and 7th place. Ron Paul is the one who's out front, but you're not hearing about that. Ron Paul is very electable, despite what they want to tell you on the mainstream media. We can't trust the mainstream. Here's a story that comes to us from RT, and this is a really good report about what is going on in Libya. Kind of catch you up to speed. It's just a few minutes long, so check this out. See what you think.
Now, the reports coming out of Libya have been changing by the minute over the weekend and continuing on today. First, they said Gaddafi had fled Tripoli. Then he was rumored to be dead. Then he came out and made a record for an Arab leader, 3 addresses within 24 hours, all in defiance. Many of those around him surrendered or were captured, including his sons, Mohammed and Saif. Now, at the moment, there is still no confirmation of where he is, and he hasn't been captured. The fighting still continues in pockets, but the National Transitional Council has declared his rule over. Now, we've all seen the images of Libyans celebrating in the streets, but the biggest questions are, of course, what's to come. Now, despite the fact that even our own President Barack Obama made a statement, the situation in Libya is still fluid, is still uncertain. Mainstream media, of course, has already announced that this is a victory, and they've moved on to asking the really tough political questions. Now, most of that being, can we now say that Obama has won? Can we all say that perhaps that congressional displeasure that we saw with the move that he made is going to go away? Is that it? A little bit of congressional displeasure? Just some more vapid political rhetoric that's supposed leading from behind? Do those critiques still stand? Now, I've got a big problem with that. Listen, is most everybody happy that an Arab dictator who's ruled for more than 40 years will probably soon be gone? Yes. So is there some reason for celebration, for happiness for the Libyan people who wanted him out, despite the fact that, of course, the hardest times may yet be to come? Yes, of course. But if you're just going to turn it into a political win here in the U.S., have that what now attitude, well, you're missing one very important piece of the puzzle. The fact that the way that Obama got us involved into this war to begin with was illegal. It's not just congressional displeasure, it's about a lot more than that. It's about blatantly violating U.S. laws, flouting the idea of congressional authorization. It's about a unilateral action that has set a very dangerous precedent. Now, just because Gaddafi might be out doesn't mean that we should give President Obama a free pass. Otherwise, it's going to happen again. Now, it might be some Republican war hawk that gets us into Iran without asking anyone next. It might not end so quickly. It might not end without the loss of any American lives. But if you let it go this time, then you have absolutely no power to speak the next time around. And what about that UN resolution in which ousting Gaddafi was not one of the goals? I guess they forgot about that too. You know, and if the media can still ask the question about leading from behind with a straight face when they're well aware of the illegal actions that he took by being overzealous with his executive authority, well, then I say that we're really screwed. But unfortunately, that seems to be the pattern that we've seen time and time again, as Glenn Greenwald pointed out today on Salon.com. The shamelessly exploiting hatred of the latest evil villain to irrationally shield all sorts of policies from critical scrutiny. The everything is justified if we get a bad guy mentality. That is one of the most destructive, most common staples of American political discourse. Now, I use his words because he said it best. And thankfully, a few other voices out there today, like Tim Carney of the Washington Examiner and Adam Serworth, the American Prospect, have noted it too. But the mainstream, the televised media, well, I guess that's just thinking too far back and maybe a little too far forward for them. They only know how to live in the here and the now in the most simple way possible, rather than connecting any of the dots, placing things into historical context, rather than realizing that the next time a president tries to do the same thing, they'll be partly to blame because they let it go the first time around and just pawned it off as congressional displeasure. When it's the government watchdogs, it's that media who should be the most displeased and who should hold our political figures accountable for their actions. But that's what they choose to miss.
All right, very good point indeed. You know, the mainstream media, they're really screwing things up. As she says, you know, they make their points on the news. They go on, they give their commentaries, they say what they're going to say, knowing their lies. I mean, the internet's so widely available to everyone. You can go right now, and anything that I talk about, anything you hear anybody talking about, you can go verify in a matter of moments. Do they not have these same capabilities over at Fox News or CNN or MSNBC or CBS? Do they not have that ability? Are these reporters, these on-camera individuals, are they not aware of really what's going on in the world? Do they not know when they're telling a lie when they see it on the teleprompter? It certainly seems like that's the case, because they just override and they just skip past all of these lies just to tell the stories as if they themselves will not be affected. Well, they are setting precedent. They're setting a horrible precedent because they're not informing the people of what's really going on, and they're skipping past all the illegal things that are taking place. And that's not the way to run a country in the right way. The problem is, our media is just so out of control. That's part of the problem. So, mainstream media, thanks for selling out. You've sold out the country, you've told your lies, and whatever bad stuff goes on with you, getting caught up in all the other stuff, you have no one to blame. Because you've lied so much that one day the very things that you've lied about are going to be the very same traps that you're catching yourself up in. Because you're going to go out and you're going to get caught up in these police matters. You're going to get caught up in some of the New World Order agenda. And nobody's going to care who you are and what mainstream media network you worked for. You will have lied and you will have put yourself in jeopardy by your lies, and there's nothing you're going to do to get out of it. Because your lies will have just made the prison around yourself. So the only way to get out of it is to tell the truth, but I don't think that's going to happen. And so when we look at our mainstream media, that which is established to be a truthful medium of news, when they're telling the lies, I'd say we're at a good point where we could say we are definitely at end times, because the lies that are going out are constant. And from the sources that should be telling the truth, can't expect anything but lies. Lies and more lies. And lies don't do anything. Not that I'm aware of. Now, we're going to move right along. I want you to be aware of this story here. You've heard about the disease that's taking place, the brain-eating virus, they say. Well, here's a bit of information about it. It says the Nipah, N-I-P-A-H virus that has apparently spread from pigs to humans highlights the increasing evidence that disease-causing microbes are breaking species barriers as they cross from the animals to people. The process is now thought to be caused by the horizontal gene transfer, which must be more properly understood if we are to prevent the outbreak of more new diseases. It is now confirmed that the epidemic causing brain damage and death in Negre Sembilan and Perak is mainly caused by a newly discovered virus named Nipah virus. This has similarities with the Hendra virus and distinctly different from the Japanese encephalitis virus. Whilst the later is spread via the Culex mosquito, it is not clear how the Nipah virus is spread. What seems certain is that the Nipah virus is transferred from pigs, some of which have in the affected areas also been affected with similar disease to people have been involved in handling pigs. The virus attacks the brain, causing many of the victims to go into coma and some to die. In Australia, the Hendra virus was apparently spread from the fruit bat to horses, and from horses to a few people who handled the horses. The death and sickness caused by Nipah and the Hendra viruses underline public concerns about the rise of new diseases, as well as how infection-causing microbes have found ways to cross from surviving in one species to another. For example, viruses that used to inhabit animals such as pigs, monkeys, and cows can also affect human beings. The breaking of the species barriers has emerged as a crucial part of the chain events causing the global rise in infectious diseases. Well, you can see there's quite a big article here. I'm not going to read all of this now. I'm going to leave that up to you. You know, when I hear these kind of stories, I guess my first thought goes to genetic engineering experiments. I think about all the stories that we heard about, you know, how AIDS was first transferred, and I know there's a lot of different stories, but one of the stories was how it was transferred from a monkey to a man, and then we have all the diseases where we've got the birds and the swine and all the other animals that are out there. You know, in every one of these cases, we can always look back and find that there was some sort of genetic manipulation that took place. I'm guessing that in this instance, we're going to find exactly the same thing, and when we trace the virus, we're going to be able to trace it to a lab that has military connections somewhere. Because again, the military, at least the higher-ups within the military who are connected to the shadow government, they don't really care what's going on. So they want to run these stupid tests and they want to create these viruses and things like this because they don't care about you. If you really understand that, if you really get it through your head that they don't care about you, now you're in a good place to move forward, because then you'll stop allowing and waiting for them to take care of you. They don't want to take care of you. They want to kill you off. Understand that, you might be better off. Now, here's a story about a hurricane. This was on front of Yahoo News. It's from the Associated Press. Hurricane Irene marks first big U.S. threat in years. Emergency officials from Florida to the Carolinas were closely watching Irene Tuesday as the first hurricane to seriously threaten the U.S. in 3 years churned Over energizing tropical waters, the storm has already cut a destructive path through the Caribbean. Forecasters say the hurricane could grow to a monstrous Category 4 storm with winds of more than 131 miles per hour before it's predicted to come ashore this weekend on the U.S. mainland. The U.S. National Weather Service in Miami expected Irene to reach Category 3 strength on Tuesday, said spokesman Dennis Falcon. And you can follow this more. There's AccuWeather here. It talks about it as well. Irene remains on track to slam into Carolinas as a major hurricane this weekend. And we'll keep an eye on that and keep you informed over the course of this week. Now, before we go, the next thing I want to play for you is the second part of this They Live, We Sleep Deeply. I played the first part yesterday. Let's get into part 2 to finish out this hour. When I get back, we're going to do our prayer meditation and send you on the way. So, here we go.
Now, in the real world, or should I say our world, because that is a highly subjective term, we do know that those who consider themselves to be our ruling elite do fear more than anything else that one day we will wake up. Let's hear it in their own words.
The second could threaten our global preponderance, our global strategic preponderance. First, proposition. I'm deeply troubled that a very vague, emotionally stated, semi-theologically defined diagnosis of the central global menace is obscuring our national ability to comprehend the historically unprecedented challenge which is being posed in our time by a massive global political awakening, and thus is obstructing our ability to deal effectively with the global political turmoil that this awakening is generating.
We're then treated to what I feel may be the longest fight scene in movie history. I have to admit, the first couple of times I saw this movie, I couldn't figure out why this fight scene just dragged on and on and on and on. And then it occurred to me that in a movie of this nature, if the fight scene is dragging on, there's a reason for it. What the fight scene represents is that when we wake up, the first people we inevitably turn to are those closest to us. And those closest to us are the ones that represent our greatest struggle to convince people, because those closest to us are the most resistant. It's a natural ego-based reaction, because they don't somehow want you to think you're better than them because you know information that they don't. And everybody likes to think that they're not ignorant and that they are informed. Do you remember the first time you talked to your family about vaccinations or fluoride? You get dismissed, called a raving lunatic. Be assured that this would not be going on without them being aware, or be told, no, this could never be happening, because nobody would let this happen. You get fought. It's a struggle. And that's what this fight represents. Now, those of you who watch television may think this fight looks somewhat familiar. And if your suspicion is on having seen a certain episode of South Park, you would be correct.
Put on your hat! Come on! Put it on!
I'm giving you a choice. Either put on these glasses or start eating that trash can.
Tanner?
Not this year.
Not this year. Tanner.
Okay. Come on. Come on.
Kabod. Kabod.
I don't want to fight. Come on. I don't want to fight. Come on. Stop. No!
I wonder what the South Park guys have to say about this.
The actual fight, where they're in the back lot and they're fighting, was the fight sequence from, what's that movie, They Live? Yeah. So we took the fight sequence where, damn, what's the wrestler's name? Roddy Piper. And that other dude, that black dude, they have this knockdown, drag-out fight in this alley in They Live.
We actually animated to that soundtrack. So for a while, before we did it, put our own sounds in, it was like Timmy and Jimmy fighting, but it was the sound, the grunts
From
of
They Live.
Roddy Piper, the music and all that.
Yeah.
But,
It's a great fight sequence in They Live. They Live could have been it's a pretty great movie. But
That was a little suspicious, don't you think? The way they kind of closed that and stopped talking about the movie.
I don't know what else is in this episode. A cripple fight. And then...
That's really about it. That's the most interesting stuff about that. We could babble on, but it would really be about what we're doing.
I think we should
today.
just move on to our next.
We should talk about what we're doing today. Actually, it's Friday right now, and we're doing an episode of South Park where.
Do these guys know something that they don't want to say? I do recall them having an episode where they talked about 9/11. Now, if I recall correctly, this episode was brought to us by the same team responsible for another episode, which featured a child saying,
"Oh, hi, Stanley. Look, I'm buying you some more all-natural toothpaste."
You mean the stuff that tastes like ass and doesn't fight cavities?
That's right.
Taking that into consideration, and also that they had an all-seeing eye pyramid, then the all-too-on-the-mark and synchromistic episode about terrorists attacking Imagination Land. This leads me to conclude that the Parker Stone team are controlled disinformation agents, and that may not sound so preposterous considering that ever since that episode in question went out, many rational, intelligent, yet trendy people are quick to dismiss
Anybody who thinks 9/11 was a conspiracy is a retard.
Seeing how they continue to push this false agenda of how anti-Semitism is a growing problem in America, which, by the way, is the same agenda as the ADL, we have to entertain the possibility that they are Zionist shills. Or the final two options, which would be that they're just as dumb as the rest of us and are mindless repeaters of whatever they see on the television. And the final one, which is that they're actually getting away with all they can, but they're still corporate men because they have to work under Viacom and are therefore told what to do. Which option? I leave for you to decide. Whatever you may think of the 911 Truth Movement, you have to admit that it is responsible for a lot of people waking up. And I believe that awakening extends to well beyond 911, which I still have yet to decide was intentional or an unintentional consequence of that action. Some of you may now be asking, what on earth does this film have to do with 9/11? Well, as you can see from the clip, nothing and everything. Back to the movie, we find our main characters sitting in a hotel discussing their world. And this is the most important dialogue of the entire movie.
A long time ago, things were different, man.
Oh, Daddy took me down to the river, kicked my ass, told me about the power and the glory. I was saved. He changed when I was little. Turned mean, started tearing. So I ran away when I was 13. Tried to cut me once. Big old razor blade. Held it up against my throat. I said, Daddy, please. Just kept moving it back and forth. Like he's sawing down a little tree.
Wow. That has to be among the best pieces of dialogue I've ever heard in any movie. Piper's not talking about his daddy. What he's talking about is Freud's big daddy, i.e. the government or whatever system of control you have in your life. Whatever is the biggest influence on who you are and what you're allowed to say or do. You have to critically analyze what he's saying. So in essence, his daddy was, at first, the Catholic Church. Took him down by the river, showed him the power and the glory. What did the church do for a good millennia? It dazzled us with heaven or damned us into hell. It kept us illiterate and ignorant while it retained all the knowledge within its own hierarchy. It kept us focused on some rewarded afterlife versus allowing us to stop and smell the roses in this one. But then Daddy got mean. The game of control switched to one of war. We were pitted against each other in useless, unnecessary, cruel, barbarous wars.
Wow. The battle looks completely different when you're in the middle of it than it does to the generals up on the hill.
And the age of industrialization came, and we just became more and more efficient at killing each other. And Daddy just kept taking that razor blade back and forth across our throats. World War I, then World War II. Did anything change? No, nothing at all.
Next week, we leave for the front. The object will be to kill as many Frenchmen as possible. Naturally, they are going to try and kill as many Russians as possible. If we kill more Frenchmen, we win. If they kill more Russians, they win.
What do we win? Read up about what really happened in World War I, the real causes of World War II, the real outcomes, and it'll be quite different from what you were taught in school.
I got news for him. Gonna be hell to pay. 'Cause I ain't Daddy's little boy no more.
Again, what an amazing, aware thing to say. We've grown up now, Daddy. We don't need you anymore. As we said earlier, what is it that the elites fear more than anything else in the world?
A massive global political awakening.
All right. Yep, my friends, they don't want you to wake up, because if you wake up, you're going to know the truths. And if you know the truths, well, you're going to know that they're not out for your best interests. And they don't want that, because they want you to believe that they're out to help you. And as long as you are asleep, then you'll think that the wars that they're fighting are helping you. You'll think that the ingredients, the fluorides, and all the other garbage they're putting in water is helping you. You'll think that all the laws and restrictions that they're doing are helping you. You'll think that all of the corruption and lies are good and are helping you, despite the fact that your spiritual institutions that have been on this planet from day number one and have taught you all of the lessons that God would have you understand, teach you not to lie, cheat, and steal. The governments only want to lie, cheat, and steal to you. And they want you to believe that that is the way that it goes. That's not right. It's time to wake up, friends. Time to wake up. Because when you wake up from their lies, you'll realize the truth, that all they are doing is hurting you and lying to you. So, let's move away from that and let's move into the place of truth. And let's do that right now with a meditation. So go ahead and close your eyes. Close your eyes and relax. Alright, I want you to imagine that you are seated in a dark room. You cannot see anything out in front of you in any directions, because there is no light in this room. And because there is no light in this room, you are not able to see what is really taking place. And then I want you to imagine that as you are seated there, that you turn the light on within you. Let's start by turning on all the chakras. Red at the bottom of the spine, raise the energy up to the chakra above it. Orange at the belly button, raise it up higher to the solar plexus. Yellow. From there, raise the energy up to the chakra above it at the heart. Green to the throat. Blue to the third eye. Violet into the crown chakra. Indigo, and then on upward. And as all these lights are turned on inside of you, and the energy and the lights overflow, notice how this light extends into the room, and the room becomes illuminated. And as the room becomes filled with light and the darkness dissipates, you're able to see everything that is around you. And in this you see that there are traps set up all around you in the dark, meant to snare you, meant to hurt you. And you realize that your so-called leaders put them there, hoping that you would trip on them in the dark, hoping that you would not turn the lights on to see the truth of the matter. And as you see the room now lit and all of these traps there waiting for you, because the light is on, you're able to walk around them smoothly and easily, as if they didn't even exist. And pretty soon the path becomes clear. And you realize that in the light of truth, peace becomes possible. And you walk along that path with the light shining bright. And send this light out to your neighbor, to your friends. Send this light all around so that others with their lights shine bright as well. And when we are all shining bright, the light within us, darkness will not be able to hide the light. Darkness will not be able to keep you in the dark, for the light will be there to shine bright the way. And let's imagine sending love to everyone around the planet now. And imagine that love is being sent back to you from all around the planet. And as you are sending and receiving this love, let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. And that brings us to the end of another show, my friends, another meditation. As always, it's been a pleasure bringing the news and information to you. We're glad to be here each and every day. So for Dirk Bradshaw, my name is Josh Poet. I'll be back tomorrow with more news and information. Till then, be safe. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.